What's good, guys? So in today's video we are going to be talking about one of the more advanced features of FlutterFlow, and that is custom widgets and custom actions. And this is actually one of my favorite features of FlutterFlow because this allows you to create very interesting apps by creating all kinds of widgets and customizing it to your heart's desire, and also creating custom actions that do pretty much anything that you want to do. So this is a very important feature. Even if you're not planning to customize your app, it's still very important that you guys understand how this works, because this is going to make you a much better FlutterFlow developer just by understanding the possibilities. Even if you're not really yet ready to customize your apps, I still recommend to everyone to understand this functionality, because it's going to be super important, and it's going to make you a much stronger and a much more advanced FlutterFlow developer. Now, before we get started, if you like NoCode, if you're interested in writing apps without a single line of code, if you want to build any kind of app, whether it's for internal purposes or commercial purposes or personal purposes or any other purpose, but you're not technically minded, you don't feel, you want to, learn a programming language, you're not, you don't feel that you're a programmer, this channel is for you. So definitely smash a like on this video right now. Leave a comment below letting me know what you think about anything that I'm going to be talking about. I don't care what kind of question you have, from simple to complex, doesn't really matter. Let me know if you have any concerns, or maybe I didn't explain anything properly. And last but not least, you definitely want to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any future videos, because on this channel, that is all we do. We talk about writing all kinds of amazing apps, mobile, web, desktop app, without writing a single line of code. So if you ever wanted to write an app, but you're afraid you're not technically minded, have a technical background, do not despair, do not be afraid. You'll be able to do it by watching the tutorials on this channel. Having said that, let's begin. So when it comes to FlutterFlow, it's very important to understand that essentially any FlutterFlow app, essentially any app on FlutterFlow that you're going to be building there, it's going to be a collection of widgets. Okay, so either these are going to be widgets that have children, so maybe you're going to have a row is going to have two text elements, a text element is going to have something else, or they're going to be essentially like parallel widgets. So you might have a row here, and they're not going to be children of each other, they're going to be siblings of each other. That is all it is. That is all a FlutterFlow app is. It's basically a hierarchy of widgets. Okay, so if we go in here, I go into my FlutterFlow, and let's say I go into my hotels app. So this is a simple app. Doesn't really matter what it does, right? And we go into this widget hierarchy here, or widget tree. You will see that all this app has is basically a bunch of widgets, a bunch of things that do various actions. They display various things, and they also respond on various events, and they also can get data from somewhere, right? That's kind of the beauty of this design, is that you can just build a widget that may have children or may not have any children, or it can display text, it can display video, it can not only display text, it can also input text, it can also receive text. And all of that is widgets. And that's really all you really need to build an app. Widgets that do various things. Here we have a bunch of rows here. Here we have a variable, right? We come in here, it's coming from a variable. Doesn't matter. Here we have an icon. You can have a button. And you can essentially add widgets like this. You can come in here and you can pick a widget, right? We have all of these widgets here. And, there are a lot of widgets, right? Arguably, there's a ton of widgets. But what if you want to create a custom widget? Okay, what if you want to create a widget that does something specific? A widget that's not here, a widget that's not here, like maybe you want to create like a progress bar that doesn't look like that, or a chart that looks something different, right? Well, you're in luck, because there's a way of creating just about any widget that does just about anything using the so-called custom widget feature, okay? And the way you create a custom widget is you got to go in here to this custom functions, okay, here, and you go to the second tab here, okay? It says custom widgets, and there's a tutorial, there are docs, and actually you can Google for it, right? You can go to this docs here, you can open this page here, and then you have custom widgets, and you can kind of read about it. And it's telling you, while developing your app, you may want to use a widget that is not a standard FlutterFlow widget. This could be a widget from PopDev or a special widget that you built yourself, okay? So this is very, very powerful, okay? This is kind of what's going to set your app from the rest of these cookie cutter apps, because you'll be able to create a widget that's customized for your specific business needs, okay? Now, there are all kinds of widgets out there. You can build your own widget, but before you go out and start building your own widget, you definitely want to go to this website called pop.dev. What you got to know is this is a repository, meaning it has a collection of various modules or widgets or pieces of code that you can implement or incorporate in your own app. Okay, so think about this as kind of like, starting from scratch, reinventing the wheel, or not reinventing the wheel. Okay, so as an example, okay, so we have my app here, right? So I have my app here. It's got this hotels thing. Let's say I want to create a new page. And on that page, we want to show like a video of a specific hotel, because that specific app is a hotel booking app that I built in one of the previous videos, okay? So I'm going to say this is going to be hotel video preview, okay? And I'm going to say create new. So now I have my fifth page. And on this page, I want to, display a video with a specific URL or a video from the internet or a YouTube video or whatever, okay? How do I do that? Well, I can go to this Dart packages thing and I can just search for video player, okay? I'm going to type video player. And let's see what it finds for us. All right, so here are the results. There's a ton of results, but this first result has the most amount of likes. So that means that this is the most popular video player. It wasn't built by, some random guy out there with no experience and no users, right? Because you're going to have apps like that and widgets like that. But this is an official widget. It's an official plugin built by FlutterDev, by the Flutter development team, by the actual, the people who maintain this framework for building apps, right? It's called a video player, a Flutter plugin for displaying inline video with other Flutter widgets on Android, iOS, and web. Okay, it has 1.6 thousand likes, 130 pop points, 100% popularity. So that looks good to me. And it's you can use it on all platforms, so Android, iOS, and web. So we're gonna go in here, we're gonna click on it, and we're gonna learn a little bit more about it, right? So here's the preview. This is kind of how it looks. It's a video player. And you can kind of read more about it. I already did that. So I already know how it works. There's an example of it. And so let's say I want to use this video player in my app. How do I do that? Well, I need to create a custom widget. Okay, I need to create a custom widget. And for that, we're going to go back to the screen here. We're going to go here, custom functions. We're in the custom widgets. We're going to say create. And the widget name, I'm going to call this video app. You can call it anything that you want. The next thing is you need to define your parameters. We have width and height are required, but you can also add another parameter. So for instance, if you come in here, data type, you have color, icon, there's all of these, video path. You can even specify a video path if you want, which is actually kind of cool. So you can specify a video path here, and you can specify this is going to be a video path and a video path here. So you can do all kinds of interesting things here, okay? We're not going to do any of that right now. We're just going to keep it simple, okay? These are required, so we cannot remove that because that specifies the width and height of the widget, right? We need to specify that, okay? We also have add dependency, and this is important because what is a dependency? Dependency is something that this custom widget that we're building is dependent upon. If we are building it from scratch, like from, all the way from scratch, we're not going to have many dependencies because we're doing everything ourselves. But because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, we are going to have a dependency. And namely, our dependency is going to be this video player, okay? Because we want to use what's already been built. We want to basically leverage what's already been done so that we are not reinventing the wheel, okay? And so what you guys want to do is you want to go into installing here. You want to click on this tab here, and you want to scroll down, and you see where it says dependencies. You want to copy that right here, and you want to say add dependency, and you want to paste that here, okay? Now, what you can do is you can say view boilerplate code, okay? And this is essentially, it gives you this code, boilerplate, essentially like the code that allows you to start by building your own widget. You can do that if you're building it from scratch. We're not going to be building it from scratch, so we don't need to do that. You want to go into video player and you want to go to readme. Okay, typically readme has an example, right? You see it has an example. You want to copy it right here. You want to come in here and you want to paste it. Okay? You want to remove this second line. We don't really need that because that's included automatically. You want to keep this here, this import. And now we have an example. So what does this example do? Well, it's very, very simple. Yes, there's some code here, but do not be afraid. Do not run away. It's not very, very complicated. It's actually very simple because all this code does is that it initializes a video player controller with this URL. Okay, so if we copy this URL, we open it up. This is what we're going to be seeing as kind of the initial URL, okay, for testing. And later on, we can, have a parameter that passes a specific URL from the user, or you can enter your own URL. But for now, this is going to be what this widget is going to show right from the start, right? This is what it's going to initialize to. Okay, so we can close that. And that's kind of all it's doing. Now, if you scroll down, it's building a widget, right? This is the part that's building. You see it says build. It's building a widget. It's essentially doing what you're going to be doing when you're building an app. Like if you've seen my previous videos where you're building the widget using the UI, it's doing it programmatically. That's all it's doing. So you see it says home, it creates a body, it's centered, you have a child, it has a floating action button, and then that floating action button has a child, and that child is an icon. So that's all it is. It's a widget with a floating action button, which is a button that you click on, it plays the video, you click again, it pauses, and it displays an icon to show the status. That's all it's doing, okay? So we're kind of done. You see, we created a video app, and you want to make sure it matches to this, okay? I already did that for you. So it says video app. And now you can do compile and preview just to check if it works. But what are we going to do? We're going to say save, and then we're going to say compile code to make sure that it's actually legit. Like there are no errors in the code. You want to test it out by compile. And once you see that, you can go to the page that you were building, and you can go in here to this custom code widgets, and you can drag the widget that you were building. See, I can drag this widget here. And I can also specify the width and height. So let's say it's 200 by 200, something like that, maybe 300 by 200. And here we have this widget here. And as you can see, it's already displaying the video that it has been initialized with. Now, of course, we can center it by going to the widget tree. We have a column. Let's add a row here. Let's add a row, and let's do that here. And let's add this right here. And let's center the row. The row is going to be nicely centered here. And now this is going to be centered, right? So we can go in here. And now this widget is perfectly centered inside the row, okay? So now if we run the app, we can essentially work with this widget. We can actually use it. We can watch the video. We can play it. We can pause it. Let me show you. We're going to hit run. All right, so there's our app. It's running. And as you can see, we have this child floating button here. And we can hit play, and it's going to play this widget by issuing play to that controller there. Okay, there you go. See, we can pause that. And it's also changing the icon, whether it's playing or pause. So, if it's playing, it's going to have this pause button. If it's pause, it's going to have the play button. You see that? And obviously we can change everything about this widget. You know, it's a custom widget. Okay, so if we go back in here and we go here and we say edit, we have this URL here. We are initializing this video player controller, this controller here, with this URL. You see, we're initializing, and we can have this as a variable. We can get this as an input, and we can specify it right here. And then, you know, you can do all of that stuff. And that is something I'm going to be talking in one of the future videos. But for the purpose of this tutorial, you can create a very, very interesting controller here without actually doing a lot of work. Okay, so now that we've done a custom widget, let's do a custom action. Okay, so if we go back here, we hit cancel, we have a custom action, and we don't have any custom actions right now. And first of all, what is a custom action? Well, it's actually very simple. If we go back to your app here, okay, we have this thing. Let's say you have a button. Let's add a button right here. Okay, I'm just gonna drag and drop a button. We have a button. If I choose this button and I go here to actions, I can add an action. So we have a type of action: on tap, double tap, on long press. But what do we want to do? What do we want to happen once somebody presses it or does something with it? Well, we can navigate, we can wait, we can do a database, we can do all these things, but we can also do a custom action. Okay, we can do something custom. So if we choose custom action, we don't have any custom actions right now. So if we choose that right here, we don't have any custom actions. That is what we're going to be doing. And custom action allows us to write a little bit of code that can pretty much do anything, can do a lot of amazing things. So let's go in here. Let's create a new custom action. Let's call it, I'm just going to say custom action. I know that's very interesting, okay? We have parameters, we have dependencies, and it's the same thing with widgets, right? Dependencies are essentially a piece of code that the custom action depends on. That is, is a way of us doing it without reinventing the wheel, okay? So we're not going to have any parameters, but we are going to have a dependency. So for instance, what if you want this custom action to redirect to a certain URL? Okay, we want it to redirect to a certain URL, okay? Well, there's a package for that. All you have to search for is URL launcher or something similar, and you're going to have a URL launcher right here. This is a Flutter plugin for launching a URL. Okay, so we're going to go in here. And as you can see, this is some sample code, and this code launches this URL. Okay, so we can have any URL that you want. And the first thing that we need to do is we need to go in here. We need to go to installing, and we need to copy this dependency because we're going to be using this specific package. So we're going to go back here. We're going to add a dependency. Okay, and it says view boilerplate code. We can do that. And we can copy to editor, and this is our boilerplate code, okay? But, we're going to be doing something useful. So what we want to do is we want to copy the code that actually launches the URL, and this is the code right here. It's very simple. It's just launch URL, okay? So here's the code that you want to use. This is the code that you want, custom action, and we're just doing launch URL. And launch URL is a function that comes with this dependency. So it's not a function I wrote. It's a function that comes with this package, okay? And we're going to be executing flutter.dev. Let's go to, google.com, okay? Just, for variety's sake, all right? We're going to say check for errors. We're going to say compile just to see if it's fine. And there we have it. It says no errors. Okay, so now we can hit save, and we can go back to our UI, and we can actually do something with it. So we have this button here, and now if we go into custom action, we say custom, we go in here, we have custom action name, we're going to pick custom action, okay? And this action does not take any parameters, it does not return any data, it simply redirects to a specific URL here, okay? So now if you run this app, we still have this widget here that we built previously, but this button should redirect to google.com when we click on it. So we're going to hit run. All right, so here's the app. If we click on this button, as you can see, it redirects us to Google. And so in this video, I showed you how to create a custom widget that does something unique. It creates its own UI, It creates its own kind of logic depending on what the widget is doing. It's going to be displaying a play button or a pause button right here using this custom code. And I also showed you how to create a custom action, meaning this is a piece of code that responds to a certain event as a result of clicking a button, long pressing a button, or whatever. So essentially, as a response, when something happens in the UI, you can redirect, you can create a calculation, you can take arguments, you can return values. You can do all that using this rich pub/dev repository, or you can create it from scratch if you want. All right, guys? So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Also, let me know what kind of topics do you want me to cover in future videos. Also, make sure you smash a like on this video. It really helps out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more ways of building amazing apps without writing a single line of code, at least without writing a lot of code. Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching this video, and I'll talk to you real soon.